Most guys start working out and think if they want to build an aesthetic physique, they only have to do high reps, pump as much blood in the muscle, and that's the way they're going to look aesthetic. Or they get on the bodybuilding.com forums, they see YouTube videos about starting strength, and they need to focus on bench, squat, and deadlift. The truth is there is a formula for building an aesthetic physique that literally every single one of you can implement, and you will look as aesthetic as you can. We all have different genetics, we all have different structures, but an aesthetic body is all about this simple formula: strength, leanness, and proportions. With that, regardless of how good or how symmetrical your abs are, regardless of your muscle insertions, you will look the most aesthetic version of yourself. And I'm going to break down the strength standards you need to focus on. Not squat, bench, and deadlift, how to actually use certain exercises to build these proportions and build this strength over time. So no matter what, you will end up with an aesthetic physique. You need to understand that building strength is a key component to aesthetics because it will change the way your muscles look. They will have a different type of hardness and graininess. Even when you're just walking down the street relaxed, your muscles are going to look full, they're going to be more vascular, and they're going to have a different texture to them, and this amplifies your physique. If you just go to the gym, you do pump workouts, yeah, you kind of look like you lift if you have your shirt off, but that tension you create through progressive overload and years of chasing these strength standards will have a different type of look to your physique, and it will make you stand out from the crowd. Most guys go to the gym and they don't do this. They don't focus on these lifts. They don't chase strength over a long period of time, and they just kind of look in shape but kind of soft. Nothing really impressive about it, and the ones who stand out get extremely strong at these basic exercises. But when we're chasing these strength standards, you need to understand the goal is not powerlifting. We are not trying to hit 1 rep maxes. We are trying to put more tension on the muscle by increasing the weight and the reps over time with good form and good mind-muscle connection with the correct intent. That intent is to grow muscle and build that hard, grainy physique, not get a bigger number. Because in reality, not only can you build strength without building muscle, but most of the time when you chase just a rep or just a weight you're trying to hit, you're not actually even working that muscle. You start using every other muscle to overcompensate, and you start moving the weight from A to B, and this is where so many guys go wrong. Every guy, when he goes to the gym, wants to bench 225. That is his main goal. And then realistically, if you watch videos or see people do it in the gym, they're lying flat on the bench. They're barely even using their chest at all. They're using triceps, delts, and wiggling the weight up. And in reality, your chest is going to look the exact same, if not worse, than if you just focused on how to actually use your chest when you're training these movements. And that's something I have to say before I go into these strength standards that you need to be aiming for if you want to build this aesthetic, high-status movie star physique. So the most important thing here, before I get into this, is you need to make sure you're actually doing these exercises correctly. Be present when you are training. Really think if you are doing a wide grip pull-up, if you are feeling your lats, or are you feeling all upper back, all traps, or you're using your forearms and biceps. This is so important. And this is why so many guys end up with wonky looking physiques, and they could have built that aesthetic physique, but they messed up in their training because they're going through the motions. They're showing up rather than enjoying the process. So let's first break it down. I got a list here that I'm going to show you guys and talk about why each exercise is so important to building this physique. Number 1, dumbbell lateral raises. This is going to build you those round 3D delts. Now, the thing with dumbbell lateral raises where majority of guys go wrong is they use lightweight. They stay at around 15 to 20 pounds and they focus on doing super strict form. But in reality, when you are doing this, you are limiting your body's ability to move the weight. It is an awkward exercise. You need to use a little bit of body English to move with the weight. I'm not talking about swinging back and forth, looking ridiculous and not using your delts, but as you move with the weight, you're gonna be able to move 20 to 50% more weight, and your delts are gonna blow up after doing this. So the strength standard I want you guys to be aiming for, and these are long-term. You may be only just starting in the gym, but you always have this direction in mind, and you will have a lot more enjoyable process at the gym, a lot more streamlined programming, and when you do hit it, you will notice the change in your physique. So, dumbbell lateral raises. 40-pound dumbbell lateral raises in each hand for 8 reps. You don't need to do machines, you don't need to do cables, all of that shit is nonsense. They are trying to sell you, all these fitness influencers are trying to sell you on their idea. They trying to rework the wheel when it doesn't need changing. Stick to the basics, do dumbbell lateral raises for 8 reps, and while you're doing these exercises over time, mix in a little bit of the pump. Your delts can handle a lot of volume. When was the last time you really had sore shoulders? It never really happens. So you do your heavy set, immediately pick up light dumbbells and rep them out. When you've done your last set, run the rack, go 40, 35, 30, 25, and so on all the way down to 5. And this is really what's going to change the look of your shoulders. You're hitting them with heavy weights, but you're also pumping as much blood in there because they can recover from it. The next one we're going to be going on to is wide grip pull-ups. If you guys follow me, you know I talk about body weight exercises. I built my physique when I was 17 and made the most progress ever before in about an 8-month period, spamming dips and pull-ups. Wide grip pull-ups, and by wide, I mean wide. I mean holding them out beyond your shoulder width by 2 hands. And this is really going to focus on your lats if you perform the exercise correctly. It's really important when you're trying to do these wide grip pull-ups, you're not trying to pull your chest to the bar because that's just going to work your upper back. When you're doing these wide grip pull-ups, you want to hollow out your stomach. Think of your belly button going to your lower back. And this is going to force you to use way more lats. And what we want to be aiming for here is 75 pounds attached to us for 5 reps. Once you start getting in this ballpark in terms of your strength standards, your back will be undeniable. And I also like to supplement my wide grip pull-ups with neutral grip pull-ups as well. I think doing pull-ups from every single angle is always the best method. So you want to be aiming for 90 pounds for 5 reps on your wide grip pull-ups or in your neutral grip pull-ups. And this, remember guys, is a goal for long term, but we want to hit every single area of our back. And these neutral grip pull-ups, same thing. You want to be pulling your elbows to your hips and also making sure that your spine is hollow, your core is hollowed, and your belly button is aimed towards your lower back. This is going to work your lats from one of the most advantageous positions. Next, we're going to be talking about another bodyweight exercise, which is weighted dips. This is the king of building a thick, gargantuan, dense chest. You need to just do the math in your head. How much can you bench press right now? I'll give you guys an example. I could probably bench press, I haven't bench pressed in a really long time, but I could probably bench press 275 to 315 for around 3 to 5 reps, somewhere around there. If I do weighted dips, I'm 185 pounds, I can attach 135 pounds to me and do 10 reps. 185 plus 135, what is that? Like 330 something pounds? I don't even know the math. But you get the idea. I can move way more weight for way more reps and it looks way cooler. But the tension you get on your chest when you are doing dips is like none other. Some of the best chests in bodybuilding history, Samir Bannout, Arnold Schwarzenegger, they attributed all of their chest density to doing weighted dips. It is the king of the upper body. It's also going to work your delts and your triceps as well. It's overall, all the pushing muscles are going to look so dense and thick because of the amount of load you are putting on those muscles. So the goal you want to be aiming for here is 90 pounds for 8 reps. If you can do 2 plates attached to you for 8 reps, you're going to have a good physique. As I said, as long as they're controlled and you're actually moving the weight through the muscle you're trying to hit. Next, we're going to be talking about is RDLs, Romanian deadlifts. So I prefer this variation other than a deadlift because you're putting more tension on the muscle at the right times. When you're doing a deadlift, you're pausing at the bottom. A lot of people start chasing 1 rep maxes. It's a full body exercise, but the RDL is much more specific and you throw it in a leg day and it's much easier to program. It's going to work your traps, your rhomboids, your erectors, which make your back look twice as thick. It's going to work your hamstrings, your glutes, and your calves. This is one of my favorite exercises. This is a go-to that I always throw in a leg day, especially when I'm training my hamstrings. You want to be aiming for 365 for 5. And once you start getting into this range of weight, up beyond 365, 405, and beyond, your back will be so thick and dense, and your glutes will be thicker than your girlfriend's, and she'll be extremely jealous. It is imperative to be doing RDLs, but again, guys, good form, controlling the weight on the way down, actually feeling tension in your hamstrings and not just using your lower back. Next exercise we're going to be talking about is barbell curls. Everyone overlooks the barbell curl, the bread and butter. This is actually one of the best ways to train your biceps. You're keeping your biceps in a position where there's tension on the actual bicep muscle the entire time. So many guys want to switch it out for spider curls or rope curls or caber curls, or all these silly variations, when in reality, if you just picked up a barbell, got extremely efficient at the movement and your ability to connect to your bicep during a barbell curl with a straight bar, not an easy bar, you will realize it is the best exercise. And this is something I've come back to after years and years and years of trying all these different exercises to grow my arms. And as soon as I did a barbell curl, I was like, what the hell have I been doing this whole time? So you want to be focusing on 115 pounds for 8 reps. That should put you roughly around 135 for a few reps. If you do this, your biceps will be undeniable. That is a lot of weight to be putting on your biceps, and there's no way they are not going to grow if you're doing the exercise correctly. Next, we're going to be talking about your quads. You want lean, powerful, athletic quads if you want to build an aesthetic physique. Your quads do not need to be humongous. Now, I'm going to give you an exercise that is basically the most basic one that literally every single one of you can do. But once I started hitting this number, I really started noticing my quad development change, and that's high bar squats. You want to be squatting like you are a Chinese Olympic weightlifter, like Lu Zhaojin. You want to keep your torso upright. You want to have the bar placed on the top of your traps, and you want to make sure you're not getting any butt wink. The truth is, when you squat, you don't need to go as deep as you think. You want to be keeping the pressure on the balls of your feet at the front most of the time, but still having a little bit through your heels. This is going to allow you to stay more upright, but actually keep tension on your quads. You don't need to bury the squat ass to grass. You need to go to parallel or just below, and you will notice that the tension you have on your quads is 10 times more than usual. So you want to be aiming for 315 for 10 reps. If you can do this controlled, you are going to have some good quads. You may not have the biggest quads, but you're going to have good, well-developed, strong, powerful quads. And lastly, for the upper chest, we have to focus on the upper shelf. It is imperative if you want to build a good physique, and that is doing incline dumbbell press. Personally, I like low incline. Some people like a little bit higher at around 30 degrees, but I like low incline dumbbell press with half my body weight in each hand for 8 reps. If you can do half your body weight in each hand for 8 reps, your chest is going to look striated, it's going to look big, and it's going to look fully developed. If you just do the dips and you focus on that lower chest, you're going to have a good chest, but they're going to look like gorilla titties. They're going to be hanging down a bit, and you want that full coverage of chest development. So if you're 180 pounds, you want to be doing 90 pounds in each hand for 8 reps. If you hit these, your physique will look dense. It will look athletic. And if you are low body fat, most importantly, when you hit these, you will be bigger than 99% of guys who go to the gym. Your physique will be more proportionate, and you will stand out without even having to flex or pose, just standing relaxed. So how do you actually implement these exercises to build this aesthetic physique? Well, number one thing I need to mention, you want to build your program around these exercises. So pick 1 or 2 of these lifts on each of your workout days to focus on. If you're only training 3 times a week, you're gonna have to pick a couple more, but these are what we build the framework of the training split around it, but we still keep in the accessory movements. We still want to be giving more volume to our arms if we want to grow those. So doing other types of bicep curls, doing tricep pushdowns. We want to be focusing on still hitting our rear delts, hitting our traps, our neck, our calves. We don't want to neglect these muscle groups because they're not compound lifts. They're still really important, and we want to be training those accessory exercises in a little bit of a higher rep range. We want to be focusing more in that 8 to 15 rep range and still progressing those over time. Just because they're accessory doesn't mean don't progress at them. It just means our main strength goals are around these compound lifts we just mentioned. Now, to grow with these, I like to train them anywhere from 5 to 14 reps. This seems to be a good range where sometimes you don't feel like you're up for doing a 5 rep max. So it's gonna be better for you to work in the 10 to 14 rep range. Most of the time, what I do is stay between 8 and 12 reps for most of these compounds. But if I go up in weight, I get a little too excited, I only get 5 reps, I don't worry about it. I use that as my new baseline, and I build up from that week over week. So the next week I go for 6 reps, the next week I go for 7, and so on and so on. I just keep trying to make small jumps over time. This is the basics of progressive overload, and if you watch my videos, you know what I'm talking about. But this is how simple it is to build an aesthetic physique. All you gotta do is focus on these exercises, stay lean year round, 10 to 14%. Build strength through progressive overload, and you will look good eventually. Some of you, it may take 2 years. Some of you may take only 6 months. Some of you may take 5 years, but you will get there. If you want to expedite this process, you don't want to go through the trial and error that we all have gone through. I spent almost a decade trying to figure all these things out. Now I've been training for 14 years and I have a system in place where it is effortless for me and the people I help get in shape. And I've helped hundreds of guys make this exact same transformation where they build an aesthetic physique and then they start building success off of the confidence and self-belief they have because of it. If you want to do this, you want to go through this transformation, you don't want to spend time trying to figure things out, book a call with me down below. We'll talk about where you're currently at, where you're trying to get to, the things we need to change, and how we can do it together. I'll see you guys there.